Hey, this is the first episode of Recipe Rivals. For those of you who don't know what this show is, we take two very similar recipes and we go ahead and fight them against each other to see which one is the winner. We base the recipes on three different things. The first being, what is the recipe like? Is it complex? Is it easy? We're shooting for easy recipes here because we want to make sure that everyone can do these at home. And the second is we want to work on providing unique recipes. We don't want to have just recipes that everybody's heard of and they aren't new to everyone. And last but not least, of course, we need to judge these things on taste. So with all that being said, Logan, why did the cookie go to the doctor?
I don't know.
Because it felt crummy. It felt crummy, Logan.
Why?
Here before me, I have all the ingredients I need to make two completely different, unique, yet very similar recipes, which are for chocolate chip cookies. Here in the middle, I have all of the ingredients that are very similar to each other. That includes the butter, eggs, brown sugar, regular granulated sugar, some vanilla that I've made myself, it's homemade vanilla, and some table salt. Over here on this side, we have all the unique ingredients that are used to make Maria's recipe. That includes some baking soda, regular chocolate chips, and regular all-purpose flour. On this side, we have some unique ingredients for the recipe provided by Brenda, and they are Montana flour, Montana Huckleberry chocolate, and baking powder versus baking soda. You're gonna need a stick and a half of butter for this recipe. I'm just going to go ahead and melt it right now so it can melt and be cool, and we will see how that goes. Now the butter is melted and we're ready to start putting the batter together. I've separated the first recipe into 5 different sections, as you can see here. Within the mixer, I have the melted butter that you've seen. Right here we have a combination of the white and brown sugar required for it. I have 1.5 egg yolks in here mixed in with some vanilla. And here we have flour, baking soda, and salt whisked together. And then last but not least, of course, the chocolate chips, the magic part of the recipe. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna put these in one at a time. We're going to start with the melted butter in there. We're gonna start whisking that, and we're going to whisk in the brown and white sugars. As those incorporate, we will wait a little while before adding the egg and vanilla mixture. Next comes the flour with baking soda, salt combination. And then last but not least, we will add the chocolate chips. The recipe recommends that you take 2 cookie sheets and you line them both with parchment paper. And now we're going to take a 1/4 cup and we're going to split this into 18 individual cookies. I'm out of dough in there and I only have 13 here, so I guess I'm gonna try to split apart some of them to make it so that I have the 18 recommendation here. You know what? I'm just gonna go with 16 because this is looking pretty good right now. So we'll go ahead and take this and we will make our cookies. In the recipe, it recommends that you go ahead and ball up each of these pieces of dough. You break it apart in the center, and then you just leave that broken apart right at the top. We're going to do that with each of these. Next is going to come the baking. We're going to want to change this temperature down to 325. And then within the oven, you're going to want to make sure that you have just 2 racks situated, one towards the top and one towards the middle. And we are going to be rotating these cookies halfway through. The oven is preheated, so we're going to go ahead and put these in. We're going to want to put them in for 15 to 18 minutes, and we'll rotate them about halfway through. Okay, we're about halfway through. You can see that the cookies are getting really big, and we're just swapping them from top to bottom and bottom to top. Now the cookies are done, we're just going to take them out of the oven and we're going to let them cool on the pan. They're gigantic. This next recipe is very regional in nature. We have a lot of ingredients that come specifically from Montana. So we're going to take a look here, and here I just have the butter, which I'll be showing you here in a second. That butter is only softened, it's not fully melted like the other recipe was. And here we have Montana flour, as well as baking soda. We also have I just put all the other ingredients in here, the sugars, the eggs, and the vanilla. And here we have some very special chocolate, which is Huckleberry chocolate, which we'll be chopping to put into the cookies. So if you look up close, you can see the Huckleberry is actually right there in the middle. Looks really interesting. I'm excited to see what this tastes like. As you can see, the butter, like I was mentioning earlier, is softened. It's not melted, so that's a little bit different than what we saw earlier. And it says just to go ahead and just put all of the ingredients together except for the chocolate in the recipe, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just dump all this in there and then I'll start mixing. Now that we have the batter there, we're ready to put the cookies on the pan before we put them in the oven. Now the recipe says to use a teaspoon. Teaspoons are really small, so I'm going to go ahead and use a tablespoon and we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully that doesn't ruin anything. And I need another pan. This way. So I've preheated the oven to 350 degrees. I have one pan here. I'm going to be doing each of the pans one at a time, so that way we can have them cook evenly. And we're just going to cook it for 10 to 12 minutes, according to the recipe. All right, there's the first batch. They look nice and golden brown around the edges. I'm going to just set them here to cool, and we'll keep putting the other ones in. The cookies are all done, and now there's only one thing left to do, which is eat this thing and let you guys know how this ends up. So when we started this, we said that we we're going to judge the recipes on 3 different things. The first was going to be the uniqueness of the recipe. The second was going to be the complexity of the recipe, or how easy it was to follow. And then the last was going to be, of course, taste. So just to fill you in on where I'm at right now as far as this recipe is concerned. On the category of uniqueness, there's definitely, hands down, the winner is the Huckleberry chocolate in Montana. I'm very interested to see how this tastes. This one was very much your regular old chocolate chip cookie. Now, with that being said, I do think that this one had a much easier to follow recipe. It seemed like the Huckleberry one had a lot of missing parts that I had to fill in holes on. So, let's get to it. So first I'm going to take a look at the Huckleberry. Definitely has a lot of really nice texture feel there. Soft and chewy, which is nice. I can taste that berry flavor. Just drinking some milk to cleanse that palate. This one is a little bit harder, but it does have a nice, it feels like it's going to be a nice chew, crunch. I have a good idea of where I feel about these two cookies. I'm going to go ahead and give some of these as a drop off to some of my family, see what they say, and then we'll come back with the results. The results are in and we have a winner. Of course, with any competition, there has to be a winner. The results were very close, but ultimately there was something that one had over the other. I will say that as far as both cookies were concerned, they both had a lot of positives in and of themselves. So the first one, the Montana one provided by Brenda, it had a lot of, really, it was super buttery, very soft, and of course it had those unique flavors with the huckleberry jam and the special flour. Whereas Maria's, we had a very chewy cookie, very classic chocolate chip cookie, and I think it had more chocolate in it per bite, so that had a great effect on the results as well. So I gave this cookies to about 15 of my family members, including myself and my wife, and ultimately the results were 9 and 6. So the winner is Maria's chocolate chip cookies. So congratulations and enjoy that gift card. For the next recipes rivals, we're going to go ahead and jump into the summer world, and we're gonna go ahead and make hamburgers. So if you could go ahead and send me any hamburger recipes that you have, we would love to see them. The full recipe for both of these cookies is going to be listed in the description below. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and then also later this week we're going to be posting another video in our Recipes Unraveled showing you how to make Thai Penang curry.